Hello, welcome to Windows Developer Day for the Creators Update. I'm Kevin Gallo, and I'm responsible for the platform and tools used to build apps for Windows. I am so excited to tell you all about the developer-focused features coming in the Creators Update. You can try it out today using the latest SDK, which is now what we call Feature Complete. Before we jump into the details, though, I'd like to welcome Terry Myerson to talk about the opportunity that the Windows ecosystem provides developers.
Thank you, Kevin. Just let me start off by also welcoming developers all around the world watching this webcast and here in this room. This is such an important community for all of us at Microsoft and especially Windows. We share this passion to create new experiences with technology, to just create with the best tools, the best tech, to empower people and organizations all over the world. And that common goal, that common mission we share, it's just incredibly energizing for all of us here today and every day as we build Windows for you. Now, Windows 10, it's off to the fastest start in Windows history. We now have over 400 million users all around the world. This is consumers, people in schools, people in the enterprise. They're doing all kinds of new things. PC gaming is taking off. 6 billion hours of PC gaming just in the last quarter. Pen usage is up 50% in the same time frame. It's just an incredible pace of adoption, and not just the core platform, but new innovations on Windows 10. And of course, with each iteration of Windows 10, we're updating that installed base so that people can take advantage of these new, developers like yourselves can take advantage of these new platform technologies. And of course, our next step is the Creators Update. I will say choosing this name, the Creators Update, was actually a journey. It was sort of one of those moments where you're like, how are we going to capture what we're really doing with our developer community, with the users? What is this common thing that we all do together on Windows? And this video we created really captures the essence of the Creators Update.
The spirit of creativity lives in all of us. It compels us to move forward.
So tell me, do you like Subway?
I paint with colors.
I paint with numbers.
I paint with words.
I sculpt in 3D.
I sculpt in code.
I sculpt young minds to go further.
I design skyscrapers.
I design new worlds.
I share ideas.
I share experiences.
I compose symphonies of music.
I compose symphonies of science.
What we create is more than just our work. It is our passion. Microsoft helps you turn that passion into reality with technology that is personal, natural, and intuitive. So nothing comes between you and your ideas. Welcome to a world where every person is empowered to achieve more.
So tell me, do you like Subway?
And every idea can make an impact.
So personally, I just find that video so energizing to see all those people using technology, using applications from our developer community on modern hardware to just create incredible things. This Creators Update really does break new ground for Windows. We are enabling people to capture, create, print, and share in 3D. We're enabling these very inexpensive mixed reality headsets that we expect to see from HP, Dell, Lenovo, Asus, and Acer here very soon. We're enabling these live video game broadcasts for all of the players out there and enabling viewers to interact with the players. We're enabling all of this video and interactive creativity in 4K. And there's so much more from Cortana to inking and security. And I just can't wait to get it out there with your applications to over 400 million people around the world. And of course, our next step is build. I can't wait to see all of you there, meet with you, and build this incredible community. Now, whether that's physically, you can make it there, or virtually online, it's just will be an incredible moment for all of us. Of course, but that's after today. First, let's get into today, and please let me welcome back Kevin to get into the depths of what the Creators Update has for you. Thanks.
Thanks, Terry. As you can see, Windows 10 gives developers reach to a wide ecosystem of devices and technologies, from desktop PCs through phones and IoT to mixed reality headsets and the Xbox. The Windows platform provides all the technology and tools that developers need to write engaging applications. With a single app, developers can reach all of the Windows devices with a highly tailored experience. Now, each of you is an essential part of the Windows community. And from my point of view, how we work together is as important as what we build together. With that in mind, we'll first talk about how your applications can fully exploit the power of the Windows platform. Next, some of the new innovative experiences that allow you to express your creativity. And I'll finish up with some updates to our dev tooling. Let's start with how one of the most well-known software companies has used the Universal Windows platform to build a full-featured desktop application that fully exploits the power of Windows. Let me introduce Vincent Hardy from Adobe.
Thanks, Kevin. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Seattle. Good morning, everybody online. I believe there's a lot of you online. It's a real pleasure to be here to talk about Adobe XD. Adobe XD is all about designing great user experiences. So we allow our designers to design, prototype, and share their work with their stakeholders and collaborators. It's available on multiple platforms. So we have it on desktop. That's where you actually do the authoring part. We have it on mobile. That's where the designers can actually experience in context the work they're doing. And we have it available on the web. And that's where the designers can actually share and get feedback from their collaborators. From the very beginning, when we started on the journey for Adobe XD, we decided that we wanted to make it the best it could be on every platform we would bring it to. That means we would make it special. And making it special on every platform means a couple things. It means the best user experience. Of course, we're all about user experience, so we would tailor it for each platform's experience. It would mean the best performance. We want it to be buttery smooth, like we say in the team, so that people can go through their day without friction. And we wanted to make it as well integrated into a host environment as possible. We wanted to feel natural on every single platform. So when it came to Windows, the natural choice rapidly became the Universal Windows platform. Let me show you how it looks. So here, you're seeing the main design space for Adobe XD. So that's the main app. And to the right, the little window you see is a preview of the content the designer has created. So here we're starting from a design where you've got multiple screens of an app called Dishy App. It's about food. And the designer has created all the visuals here. So in the environment, you'll notice first that it's very streamlined and very simple. So that's our focus on making simple things easy, making repetitive tasks easy as well. For example, I'm just adjusting something like the padding. And it's a powerful tool, the repeat grid. And you see this update real time on the right-hand side. I can experience the interactivity here. So I can go back to the home screen. Home screen, not screen, and see how it behaves. So if I go to my wiring here with the screen selected, I see all the interactivity that starts from the home screen. In particular, I have this button here. If I click on it on my preview window, I navigate down to that screen. Now, right now, actually, I don't have any way to navigate back to my home screen. If I want to fix something like this, I would simply go here, grab a little handle to wire a new interaction. And as soon as I've done that, I could configure it more, but it's already live in my preview window, and it lets me navigate back. So this is, in a nutshell, what the application is about, right? You're able to design, you're able to prototype the interactivity, you're able to preview it. The other piece is that you could preview it in your mobile device, and then when you're done with this, you could actually share it with your stakeholders so that they can experience what you've created in a web application. So that's Adobe on the Adobe XD on the Universal Windows platform. We've shipped the first version in December, and now we're shipping monthly. So we had another one in January. We have another one coming this month. This is because our focus is on performance and quality first, and then we're incrementally adding features as we go every month to bring more value to our users. So far, the response for our users is very encouraging. As you can see, some of those quotes and tweets on the screen, including on the Universal Windows platform. So it's encouraging, and we're very excited with what is coming next. But before I talk about what's coming next, I want to share our journey on the Universal Windows platform. There are a couple key takeaways for us. So the first thing is when we set out to build on a new platform, because Adobe XD is the first Adobe app that will run on Universal Windows platform. We first looked at all the capabilities of the platform. Like, could we push the boundaries, have all the graphics we need? On the screen, like I shared, there's tons of graphical objects, and you need to be able to zoom in and out really quickly. You need to have really great performance. So we looked at that, and we've successfully built the application. At times, we've pushed the boundaries. For example, on text editing support with a component called Rich Edit Box. But we've worked with Microsoft to add the few APIs that we were missing, and they're going to surface in our monthly updates as we go. The second thing that we put our minds around was the application model, the life cycle. The Universal Windows platform encourages apps to have a very collaborative attitude towards the operating system, so that you don't keep all the resources to you when you're not in the forefront and you're not the main thing the users have. I personally think this is a great idea, because this is what will deliver to our users the best experience in the operating system when they're in XD and when they're not in XD as well. So we have to do work for that. In an app like ours, it's a big pro app. We've been working again with Microsoft to design this in the right way so that the suspend resume cycles work smoothly, and the users don't have surprises like they're under reduced tax not working and things like this. So again, those are big meaty problems for the better of the user experience on the platform. And then finally, like many software vendors, Adobe has been doing Windows development for quite a while, and we have other apps like Photoshop and Illustrator, and they're part of our own suite of apps, and Adobe XD participates in collaborating with those apps. So we have core components that we share, and those are not all UWP yet, because those other apps have not moved to UWP yet. So we had to find a solution to actually get those existing components for things like identity, analytics, or entitlements to actually work with our UWP app. So thanks to Sentinel Technologies, we've been able to actually bridge those two worlds and get our UWP app to work with our existing core Win32 components and participate in our suite of applications. So now what's next for Adobe XD? So there are a couple things that are in the works and I'm very excited about. One of them is we're looking at moving our core component I just talked about to support UWP, so as to enable more application on the platform. And then in the spirit of making the application the best it can be on each platform we bring it to, on Windows, that means we're going to do more work on touch, pen support, Surface Dial. I think this is all very exciting to actually enhance the experience when you create in our tool. And then finally, XD is really meant to help our designers through their day so that they have a frictionless day and a great experience all around. And that's not only the design experience, but it's also the way they're going to collaborate with their colleagues and stakeholders. One of the very important stakeholders is the developer, because they're on the receiving end of the design they create, and they're the ones who are responsible for making them a reality. So we already have some features in the solution, but we want to do more going forward. So stay tuned on that. You'll see more coming from us. And in the meanwhile, if you want to check out what we're doing, go to xd.adobe.com. You can actually try Adobe XD, see what it does, and we'd be thrilled to have all of your feedback. With that, thank you very much.
Thanks, Vincent. Thanks, Vincent. What a great application they've built there. It's exciting. So UWP isn't just about mobile apps or mixed reality apps or Xbox apps. UWP is about taking full advantage of the power of a desktop PC while still being able to build for all Windows devices. Now, to take advantage of all these UWP capabilities, many of you will want to start from an existing technology. For example, WinForms, WPF, or .NET. Using the desktop bridge, we've made it easy to call UWP APIs from your existing desktop applications. First, we're continuing to expand the APIs available to the Universal Windows platform, including many of the most commonly used Win32 and .NET APIs. This makes it even easier to share code that you've already written for Windows 7. At the same time, using the desktop bridge, your existing Win32 applications can call all the UWP APIs. We're making it easy for applications to share code between Win32, .NET, and UWP. Now, we launched the desktop bridge along with the anniversary update last year, and I'm delighted to say that many developers and publishers have chosen to adopt it, both to access all these UWP APIs and, of course, to submit their applications to the Windows Store. We launched last September, and we've seen apps from all categories take advantage of the desktop bridge, from education to creativity apps, communication, media, and games. I want to look at 3 app publishers to see what benefits they got from this technology. We all want our users to be running the most recent version of our apps. However, we all know that's hard. Pop-ups asking people to upgrade get ignored, and then who wants to see all of that from every app? Well, we all end up with a fragmented user base. UWP and the Windows Store fixes that. Evernote submitted their app to the Windows Store, and now their users are always up to date and with no pop-ups. So you get a better user experience and an updated user base, win-win for everyone. Photoscape X Pro chose to put their app in the Windows Store using the desktop bridge to increase their revenue. We've added numerous monetization models to the Windows Store, specifically for desktop apps and publishers. Kodi, a highly popular media app, used the desktop bridge to publish to the Windows Store. They are so happy with the increased engagement that they are now moving their entire code base to UWP. Since they're an open source project, we all get to see, learn, and contribute. Once it's UWP, they plan to publish it on the Xbox too. That is the power of having one platform. One of the things I love about software development process is that we can build the platform together as one community. Now, we've been doing that for a while, but I want to take it to the next level. First, let's look at our developer documentation. Now, it may seem mundane, but realistically, it's the window to our platform. It's the first thing most of you see. Today, I'm delighted to announce that we are bringing together all of Microsoft's developer documentation in one place, docs.microsoft.com. At the same time, we are opening up our documentation so that our entire developer community can contribute to it. Great, huh? Well, did you ever feel that your feedback kind of went into a black hole and you never knew what happened after you submitted it? Well, not anymore. Today, we're making public our backlog, both bugs and features. You can both see what we're working on, and you can help us prioritize what we do. We pioneered this with our web platform a couple of years ago, and it's been so successful that we're expanding it to the app platform as well. I believe it is vital for the Universal Windows platform to meet the needs of our enterprise customers. A big part of building great business applications is having a rich set of easy-to-use UI controls optimized for the enterprise. To talk about that more, I'd like to welcome Todd Engelin to share what Telerik is doing for the UWP ecosystem.
Thanks, Kevin, and good morning. As Kevin said, my name is Todd Englund, and I'm Chief Evangelist for Telerik. And at Progress, for the last decade, we've been creating the industry's leading UI tools. We create the kind of UI tools that line-of-business developers need to create amazing apps. From our original UI tools for ASP.NET to modern UI like Kenda UI, ASP.NET Core, and UWP, Telerik UI is found in more than 90% of the Fortune 500 today, powering the apps that their users use. Now, over the years, UI has changed quite a bit, from new forms of input like touch and ink, things we've seen today, to radically new UI concepts like the ribbon bar, tile views, even the radial menu. The challenge line of business developers have in the enterprise is how do we put these new UI concepts into our apps? How do we do it quickly? How do we do it productively? At Progress, we like to think that Telerik UI tools make this pretty easy to do. That's what we do for developers, and we've been doing it, and we hope you enjoy it. Now, I'm pretty excited to be here today because we've been working with Kevin's team at Microsoft for a while to help make the next generation of .NET app development, line of business enterprise app development, even more powerful. UWP offers developers an opportunity to unlock the full power of Windows and build amazing apps and reach the breadth of Windows devices on desktop, mobile, HoloLens, Xbox. And Telerik UI for UWP offers a complete collection of those UI tools developers need to build those modern apps quickly and productively. In fact, UI for UWP is already used by thousands of developers around the world, and it's one of the top 10 most used components across the Windows app catalog today. Now, we're pleased that UI for UWP has been so helpful for developers up to this point, but we've been working with Microsoft, and we think we can do more. Kevin talked about the importance of collaborating in an open community, and at Progress, we agree that that's important to how apps are built. So I'm here today to share that today, all of UI for UWP is now free and open source. All of the controls, all of the source code available today on GitHub and NuGet. More than 20 powerful line-of-business UI tools, including charts, gauges, and of course, the ever-necessary and classic data grid. You'll need that, trust me. We hope you'll join us to work on this. Check it out on telerik.com/UWP and help us make the future of app development as productive as the past and build some amazing apps with UI from Telerik. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Todd. That is awesome. All these controls are now available as NuGet packages, and it's all open source. Both Todd and I are looking forward to your contributions as well. I know they're going to make your apps even better. Now, Windows is constantly evolving to allow developers to take advantage of new innovations, whether lighting up APIs to harness new hardware capabilities or introducing new intelligent services. We aspire to make these easy to use and approachable to all developers. Today, I want to highlight a few of the most exciting ones, or at least the ones I find most exciting. There's a lot of other ones too. Let's start with mixed reality, which seems to be taking the world by storm. We already have a mixed reality platform in Windows 10 designed for HoloLens that now extends to all Windows mixed reality headsets too. This platform enables you to develop 3D applications and games, whether for augmented and virtual reality combined or just in the enclosed VR world. A UWP app built for HoloLens can be easily adapted to run as an immersive app on Windows mixed reality headsets coming later this year. We're going to use Galaxy Explorer, one of our most popular HoloLens apps, as an example. Let's take a quick look at that project on HoloLens.
Shortly before launching Microsoft HoloLens, we asked the community what you would like to see us build. After submitting over 5,000 ideas, you voted for Galaxy Explorer, an app that lets you explore the galaxy in mixed reality. We spent 6 weeks developing Galaxy Explorer and documenting the journey. When the project was finished, we released the source code on GitHub, so you could use it directly in your own projects and contribute back. As the Windows mixed reality story continues, so does our work on Galaxy Explorer.
Great application. Now, because HoloLens and the upcoming mixed reality headsets Both share the same Universal Windows platform. An app built for HoloLens like Galaxy Explorer can also run as an immersive experience on any Windows mixed reality headset. You can build apps to take advantage of the wide spectrum of Windows mixed reality headsets, from the see-through lenses and spatial mapping HoloLens to occluded headsets from Acer, Asus, Dell, HP, 3 Glasses, and even the one you see here from Lenovo. These partner headsets will start in the $300 range, so your mixed reality app can reach more users than ever before. And now, to show you how to adapt Galaxy Explorer for occluded mixed reality headsets, I'd like to introduce Amy Giannetti.
Thank you, Kevin. So we should have a video right now. But I guess, there we go. So in this video, you can see exactly that. The Galaxy Explorer app running on a mixed reality occluded headset, recorded from our office. But of course, there are a few differences between the HoloLens and these occluded headsets. So there are a few changes that we had to make the application. So number one, because of the different display technologies, we had to scale the size of the text assets to make the text more legible. Number two, we adjusted the brightness of some of the assets, because on an occluded headset, most of the ambient light is blocked out, and your eyes have adjusted to a darker environment. And number three, on an occluded headset, you can't see the world around you. So we added a star-filled background and a floor plane to help the user feel grounded in this more immersive experience. Now, scaling text assets and brightness is pretty straightforward, so we won't go into those in depth, but let's take a deeper look at that last point in more detail. So here I have the Galaxy Explorer project open in Unity, and I've selected the Platform Manager object. Now, this is an object that you'll want to add to your project to help it adjust to the device it's running on. Because Galaxy Explorer is a UWP app, it can run on the HoloLens, Windows Desktop, mobile, as well as these occluded headsets. So the script for this object is where you'll want to detect what device you're running on. In our case, we just want to know if the device we're running on is an occluded headset. So we've wrapped the query to the system to ask this in our Platform Manager. And we'll see an example of using this in just a moment. Back to Unity. Next, we'll take a look at the star-filled background. So as we saw in the earlier video, when running Galaxy Explorer on the HoloLens, you can still see the real world in the background. But on an occluded headset, this background is just black. And, well, that's rather boring and gives no sense of orientation for the user. To combat this, we've added the star-filled background to give the user some points of reference and make the background a bit more interesting. Taking a look at the code for this object, on initialization, we will query our World Manager to see if the device we're running on is a occluded headset and set the object to active. Otherwise, we'll set it to inactive. And lastly, as I said before, when running this app on an occluded headset, you can no longer see the room and the floor around you. And particularly in this application, that can lead you to feel like you're falling through space. And let me tell you, that's not a fun feeling. So we added a Play Space Manager to help with this. This Unity object has a floor quad component, and in this script, we will set it up. Similarly to the Starfield object, on startup, we will ask our Platform Manager if the device we are running on is an occluded headset, and if it is, we will set the object to active and initialize the floor plane. To initialize the floor plane, we'll just query the World Manager for the real-world position of the floor, as well as the bounds of the space that the device is running in. And these details the World Manager will know from the initial device setup. Then we'll use these values to set the position and scale of the floor quad object in Unity. Now, when the user looks down in the application, they will see this blue grid plane at the same height as their own floor. And that's it. It took only these 3 changes to get the Galaxy Explorer app running comfortably on both the HoloLens and mixed reality occluded headsets. Back to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Amy. The Universal Windows platform makes it easy to build an application that scales from HoloLens to other mixed reality headsets. So if you want to get ahead of the curve, start developing for HoloLens now. We'll have more to share on our plans for mixed reality headsets at GDC later this month, so stay tuned. Now, the way we interact with our devices is evolving at an astonishing pace, requiring hardware and software to work seamlessly together and intelligently. Ultimately, we as humans all want our experiences to be natural and engaging. We've invested heavily over the last decade on individual technologies like ink, touch, and speech. However, the magic happens when you bring together all of these innovations powered by AI. That's when we begin to truly understand user intent. You've now got the ability to use these input mechanisms simultaneously, so you can do things like change color or size of a brush through the surface dial while drawing with that brush using a pen. You can talk to your devices more and more conversationally. And you can step into the world of virtual reality where the world is controlled by your gaze. At the same time, we've made it much easier to apply effects and lighting, leading to even more engaging experiences. Cortana provides a rich canvas for deep engagement and an ever-growing set of users. So far, she's been asked over 13 billion questions. Can you imagine if your kids ask that many questions? Though, to be honest, it does feel that way some days. In December, we announced the Cortana Skills Kit as a way of teaching Cortana new skills. Cortana skills are easy to create and available across all Cortana-enabled devices. To create a Cortana skill, you can leverage skills built from many different other platforms. You can reuse VCDs, or you can use bots created using the Microsoft Bot Framework. The Cortana Skills Kit preview is available later this month. Now, I want to show you a demo that pulls all of these pieces together. So, you guys want to see some code? Yeah. Let's hop over and look at some code. So, I built an application, Northwind Photo is what I call it, and it's basically a photo kind of gallery. It lets me create collages and stuff. So I'm going to launch it here. There's Visual Studio, the project's in there. I'm going to launch it, and you'll hopefully see some of the animations as it flowed in. Now, it's probably a little fast, so I've added a cool little feature here, mainly for demo purposes, of course, where if I re-show it again, it'll come in slow motion. And you'll see many things are happening in a highly coordinated animation fashion, which at the end of the day might seem complex. In slightly with a nice little drop shadow. So let me show you how easy it was to add that into my application now. So here's where I initialize my container. So when that container comes up, so a couple simple things I do. I set my animations. I create my fade in, my fade out, my scale factors. So a bunch of parameters I go in and get from my designer. It does, figures all that stuff, makes it look cool. Then I use a feature that we introduced already, which is I can group these together. So I can have single animation, single item to use as I have applied multiple effects, making it simple just to manage the animations. But here's a new feature that we've added. It's called implicit animations. So I can make it so that when a certain action happens or certain attribute happens, like show or hide, it automatically applies all of these animations at the same time, making it very simple for me to go just say, you know what, I want to add this animations automatically on every item in the container. And with one line, or two lines here, one for the show, one for the hide, I've now applied the animation to every item in the collection. Great, huh? Very simple to do. Now, sometimes it's not always the biggest features. I mean, that's a big feature of Fallible. It's the little things. One of the things I've been asked a lot for is, can my application simply pin something to start? Prompt it versus the user doing it. So here we've added, you can see I put a little icon, a little pin. When I click on it, it just prompts the system and says, do you want to pin this tile to start? I can hit yes, go here to start, and you'll see it shows up here. Now I have a pin to start. Very, very simple to go do. Let me show you the code, because it's always fun to see the code. So hop over here to the function. So here's my click handler for the actual button that I created. I go and I take a look at my application. So I have the package. I know my package. I say, what's my identity? So I know which one to go pin. And then I just ask the Start Screen Manager to pin that tile. A few lines of code now. Great delighter. I know it'll make it easier for you to get your applications more visible to your user and even better. So let me hop over now. And one of my favorite new cool input devices is my Surface Dial. So I want to show you some of the features we've added and how you can use them in your applications even better. So in this application, obviously I have my gallery, but I want to do some editing. I want to edit a photo, and kind of make it my own. So what I've done is I clicked on the photo. You'll see that 4 circles showed up. Now, you say, what are those 4 circles for? Optimize for. When I lay my dial on them, all of a sudden now, this is now my menu. This controls updating that attribute. So I have contrast. So as I spin it, you see a couple things happening. I have a nice little effect here that says, okay, it's increasing, so the circle's getting bigger, and when it decreases, it goes down. And you can see, kind of changes the contrast. So it's not a huge visible. We'll go to exposure. This is much more obvious. So I click here again, the other menu items go away, and I can change, wow, that changes contrast fast. So I've added this nice little feature that when I push, it changes the granularity. So rather than it change it by a large amount, now it changes by a small amount. It's so natural. You guys can't feel it, but for me, just push a little bit harder, and now I get more precision in the actual controller itself. And then I can go to saturation. I'll decrease that a little bit, make it look a little more black and white. And then, just for effect, we'll do some blur so everybody thinks I don't know how to take pictures with cameras. My wife already knows that. No pictures allowed for Kevin. So cool, I did that. So let's go hop over and look at the code that we did to take advantage of all the great stuff on this Surface Studio, where I can actually place the Surface dial on the device itself. So hop over here into my code. So first thing you'll notice here is just simple. I want to set up my dial control. I want to set it up so I can now get input from it. So basically some boilerplate stuff. One thing to note is I didn't show the default menu. Those of you that have used the dial before will notice that it has, most of the time has a built-in menu that comes up. Well, I decided I didn't want that. I wanted to use the actual canvas of the device as my user interface, because that was most natural for me as I'm creating and editing that photo. So I suppress that menu, and I hook up some default handlers here. Let's look at what each of those do. So one here is screen contact started. This is when I place it on the screen itself. What I do is I first just say, okay, where did that happen? So I find the location it got placed. That comes in the sender. And then I just look and see which of the 4 circles was closest. And that's the one that I've selected. So what I do is I make that the selected control, and I decided to hide the other ones for effect. That was just my aesthetic and design. And then simply when it comes off the screen, there's no control selected. So if you spin it, nothing happens. And then it shows all the rings again. And then a couple handlers here. Whenever I release the button, when I push down, it's more high precision. When it's up, it's normal precision. So it's just normal precision. And then when I press it, I get high precision. And for me, when I push and hold, I also want it to have high precision. I don't want it to be a push kind of effect. So I made sure when buttons holding, it's also precise movement. And then move over here to rotation. So now when I'm spinning it, all I do is grab whatever the selected control is. If there's one, I increment the value that I'm changing on the actual object, and then I update it. Not a whole lot of code, but a great immersive user experience, better than anything out there on the market. Okay, I'm proud of my app. So the next thing is now once you've kind of done your photo, it's kind of cool. What do you want to do with it? You want to share it. So we have a feature we've added in our UWP toolkit where we can very easily just post to Twitter. So I have a nice little tweet on the side over here. So I click that, lets me have a name, my masterpiece, of course. I say tweet, and that will go and post it and tweet on my account right there. So show you the code for that. So just pretty simple. When I press the button, it goes and initializes a connection with Twitter, logs into my account, gets the image stream, and sends it. Can't be any easier. Now you can go tweet things like your images easier than ever before using this control from the UWP toolkit. Now, let's move on and talk about some of our more advanced technology that's coming with our Ink platform. We've been making advances over the last few years, more and more, to be able to do things that are just awesome for the user. We've done a bunch with our Ink Presenter for drawing. Well, now we're adding more capability in our Ink Analysis. So let me show you this. I can go and start drawing a rectangle. And so when I'm drawing the rectangle, it's kind of ugly because I'm kind of creating collage, so I want to kind of piece things together. Well, if I push on the dial, I've made it so that it automatically recognizes the rectangle, draws one with a nice border around it. Actually, it's so smart that I can actually draw 2 rectangles, and it knows I drew 2 of them. So it disambiguates them and tells me there's 2 rectangles. And you'll see the code, very little I did to take advantage of that. And I'll draw one more for my collage. So, very easy. Let's hop over and look at the code that I used to get all that shape recognition. So first thing I do here is create this new object called Ink Analyzer. This is what provides the magic, right? And then I'll go here, and when I navigate to my, my collage, I just hook up some basic default handlers here. Hook up being pressed on the radio controller and some basic stuff. Then I go here, which is really the meat of it is, every time I draw from my ink presenter, this is something we've introduced last year, you take all the strokes and just pass them to the ink analyzer. Then, when I press on the radio dial, it does the analysis and converts that to rectangles. How that happens is it calls me back on this method saying, okay, I'm done doing the analysis, and it tells me what kind of objects. It can be a list of objects. And all I do is cycle over every object that it found. This is where it cycles over every object and find out what it is. I don't care about anything other than rectangles and squares, because yes, it does detect squares too, versus a rectangle, so I want both of those. And I just go, I randomly pick a thickness. I don't know if you notice, they all just kind of changed. My design flair, not much. So I draw a nice little border around it. Of course, I have to add some implicit animations because it was easy. I added a couple here for fade in, fade out. I reused some of those objects that I had. And I get a nice effect for it. So very easy. I can use the analysis. It does all the heavy lifting of trying to figure out what the strokes meant. And you'll see more and more of our, as we invest to make it very easy to know what the user intent was as they were going and as they were using their pen. Now, I got to get some images to place in here. Now, I can go look on my gallery and pick them all. But you know what? I'm just going to ask Cortana. And ask Cortana to kind of, intelligently fill this out. So we built a skill that can go and intelligently go and launch the application and tell it what to go do. Let me show you. Tell Northwind Photo to populate my collage. Let's try that one more time, since I think, these demos always have a little bit of echo. Tell Northwind Photo to populate my collage. Yep, so it's going to do that. I'll say yes. And you can see here, just with my spoken word in my hands, it went, picked a bunch of photos, and filled them in for me. So it's cool. I like these photos. You know what? Actually, I don't really like the one on the left. So how about we ask Cortana to replace it? Tell Northwind Photo to swap the image on the left. I'll try that one again. A little finicky. Tell Northwind Photo to swap the image on the left. Okay, it's giving me a suggestion. Don't really like it any better, so I'll say no. See if it has a better one. Ooh, frog. My wife likes frogs. I don't really, but she loves frogs, so we're going to pick the frog. So she'll be happy with whatever I produce. So you can see here, very simple to integrate and use that skill and ask Cortana to do that. So I'm going to pop over here and show you the code that I wrote to integrate with that skill. I'm not going to show you the actual skill, but I'm going to show you how I was able to use and leverage that skill in the application. So what happens is when Cortana is asked to go connect to a skill, it launches a protocol handler here saying, okay, the skill was activated. I intercept that, very easily take the parameters that I got from my bot and pass those along to my application. And then my application goes and does all the work for me. So very easy, leveraging a skill to go and connect it directly into my application and making the experience even better. So now that I've kind of looked at the application, I kind of like my collage, it's great, I'm going to show you a feature we call Edit and Continue, where I can go change XAML directly. And let me hop over here to my XAML. And so very easily just go and change my string. I just got to find my XAML here. A bit hard in my text here. Okay, it's not my XAML. Where is my XAML? Okay, so let's go find. Here we go. Yep, just take me a second to find my XAML there. Okay, so all I have to do is I can go type approve. And you can see here, as I typed it, I didn't actually add the E. I missed it. It missed it too. Live editing in XAML, updating the text right there. Now, of course, because I had the ability to make effects, I made it cool as a little star field with the text, but directly taking my XAML and it live edits it. So as you're designing, you can see live what it looks like rather than do it, compile, and try it again. So great edit and continue feature added to XAML. And so let me hop back over to the application here. So now it's approved. I love it. I'm going to save it. So here, what we've done is we've added a toast notification that shows progress and shows updating. So it's a live toast notification that leads to a more interactive experience with your end user. They know what's happening. Rather than saying, okay, I'm just saving it, what's happening, is it updated? I can go see it. If I want to, I can dismiss it. But the end user has the ability to watch the progress and see it completed. Let me show you how we do this with these templated toast notifications. So I'm back over here in Visual Studio. First, I want to show you what the toast looks like, because we've added some extra features there. So, typical toast notifications, a bunch of XML here. But we've added these things that parameters: title, status, progress value, and of course, a progress string that I can place as well. So these are the parameters that I want, and they'll lay out, correctly inside the toast. But I'll data bind it from my code. So let me hop over to my code and show you how I use that. So first thing, of course, I do is when I activate toast notifications, I load the template. Then I create a dictionary of the initial parameters that I want: the title, the status, the progress, and the string. And I set some default values for them. Then I go in simple boilerplate notification code, I create a new toast, and I put the toast up, and then I begin the upload. And then as I get update status, all I have to do is change the value of these strings. I don't have to have different toasts for different parts of the status. I just update these strings, they get data bound directly, and I tell them to update the toast notification, and that's it. Great experience for your user with a little bit of extra code, much more flexibility that we've added to the platform. So that's just a few of the features that we've added, how we've enhanced the experience, and a bunch of the capabilities that we've brought together in the Universal Platform. Now, part of the promise of UWP is that you can write applications that run on any Windows 10 device. Well, you know what? That also includes games, not just apps. First and foremost, the future of game development will be built on the Universal Windows Platform. Amazing, high-fidelity games are already enjoying easy self-publishing through the Windows Store and have unlocked the power of visual creativity with DX12, with support from top game development tools and middleware partners, of course. Game developers ask for more choice and more opportunity. UWP delivers and is evolving to make game development faster, easier, and plain out better. The Windows Store extends the reach of any game to the largest active gaming audience available to any platform. Game development without borders across Xbox One consoles, Windows PCs, and Windows mixed reality devices. All connected through the power of Xbox Live, the largest social and multiplayer gaming ecosystem on the planet. As we like to say it, your game, any screen. Now, let's talk about a few key features that we've added for you, our game devs. This year, we're introducing a concept called Game Mode that optimizes system resources for the absolute best gaming experience possible. In 2016, Xbox opened up its app ecosystem to the entire Windows Store UWP marketplace. In 2017, we're doing the same for games. Windows Sonic is Microsoft's next-gen audio platform that provides a powerful, immersive sound experiences support through Dolby Atmos. Windows Sonic works across Xbox One consoles and Windows 10 PCs and scales from speakers to headphones. Intelligent Install provides an easy way for games to install bits in the right order so that players can download less to jump into the game faster. It's features like these that are only possible when you embrace a one ecosystem vision, learning and improving across the board for all developers. And when we get it right, we get it awesome.
I need to know everything they told you.
Wow, that was a great lineup of games. We've talked about the big things coming to Windows, but it's also the little things that matter. Just in the Creators Update, we've added over 1,000 new improvements all throughout the platform, and I know you'll love all of them. Now, let's look at the tools we have to build these applications and services that we've been talking about. We know that not all devs are alike. Some of you love Visual Studio. Other of you prefer the command line. Some of you are debugging pixel by pixel for a AAA game. We've made improvements for all of you. From loading to building solutions, Visual Studio is simply faster. Performance counts. If you need to do GPU debugging on DX12 apps, Pix for Windows brings the power that Xbox developers have enjoyed to the Windows desktop. And of course, the Windows Sub 6 for Linux has some nice improvements, including the ability to deploy and debug Linux binaries directly on Windows. We also continue our cross-platform compatibility efforts in Edge with thousands of changes and support for new APIs, from big ones like WebRTC to simple delighters like async and await, and even end-user features like web payments. Additionally, we're introducing WebVR, allowing developers to build Windows mixed reality experiences for the web. The Store Services APIs connect your application to store services, such as analytics to help you improve your application's usability, the ability to run store submissions and updates automatically as part of your build scripts, and the capability to run ad campaigns for your applications. There's also an advanced SDK for things like A/B testing and targeted push notifications, so you can address groups of users or even individual users directly to advise them of new features or get them to respond to questions. Today, I'm excited to talk about two new additions to the Windows Developers Toolkit. Facebook App Install Ads has immense audience reach, and it is now available for Windows. Ads are displayed in a user's newsfeed. You can target based on interests, behaviors, and locations. And you can centralize all your campaigns across all platforms. Next, I'm excited to announce the Windows SDK for Google Analytics, which provides real-time app analytics. The core library works on UWP, Xamarin, Windows Forms, and on WPF, allowing for maximum code reuse. Now, in conclusion, I want you to remember three key things. Your applications can fully exploit the power of the Windows desktop. You can build the most immersive, and engaging experiences with the new innovations in the Universal Windows platform. And finally, we are excited to be building the platform together with you as one community. I'd like to invite you all to get started developing for the Windows Creators Update today. Download the SDK, update your applications with new features, or build wholly new applications with wonderful new experiences. And of course, keep that feedback flooding in. Thanks very much for coming, and enjoy the rest of the day. As you can see, we still have tons to tell you about. I'll be back later to answer questions. Thank you.
ShareFile is a service that allows our users to collaborate more easily, and we also simplify complicated workflows. UWP gave us the ability to offer consistent experience by making sure we only had to develop for one platform.
Our customers love the freedom of choice they get now. They have the ability to access their data and processes no matter where they are and no matter what device they use. And ultimately, they appreciate the security of the solution, the way that they can access those processes with dramatic peace of mind.
The advice I'd give developers of other enterprise apps would be jump right in to UWP.
You'll develop your solution much, much faster than you actually think is possible. I'm Adolfo Rodriguez.
I'm Ben Robbins, and I build for Windows.
Hi, we're here at the Redmond campus at Microsoft, right outside where the keynote was. I have Todd from Progress. Can you tell me a bit about who you are, what this announcement we heard from your wonderful company, and a little bit of a recap?
Sure, yeah, we're excited to be here today, obviously. It's a big announcement. We were just in there talking about how we've made UI for UWP from Progress, the Telerik UI toolset, free and open source. It's really exciting. It's a sort of a new thing for us to make UI open source. We've been doing UI for a long time professionally for developers, but we think this is going to be a great way to collaborate with Microsoft, collaborate with the .NET community, and really see some amazing apps built with UWP.
Okay, great. Where does one get the tools? Like, I'm assuming they're on NuGet, and you said you guys mentioned that they're open source under Apache 2.0.
Correct, yeah, ASL 2, so Apache software license, really permissive, which means it's easy to integrate into your projects and use it. All of the source is out there on GitHub, so you can find it really easily. If you want to find it, the easiest link I can share and find documentation, and even if you need professional support from Telerik, you can go to telerik.com/UWP and find everything there, links to GitHub, it's all out there.
Great. What is your favorite control from you guys?
Now, we have a lot of controls. The open source UWP tool set has 20 different tools in it. Data visualization, things like data forms, data grids. I love the data viz stuff, the charts and the gauges, because it's interactive, it's visual, it moves. But frankly, when it comes to building line of business apps, you can't beat a data grid. Data grids make you look like heroes, and they solve a lot of the problems developers have. So
actually, you just cheated and made me go jump ahead of my questions.
Hey,
now.
I don't want to cheat the system here.
I know. So you were talking about the data grid. Now, what are some things that it can do, like just beyond just visualize data?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what we want to do with any of the UI tools that we build for any of our different suites or UWP is make it easy for developers to implement the things their users need to be productive in their apps. So with the data grid, that's things like sorting and filtering, grouping by dragging and dropping. Developers can do this, but they usually have to write a lot of code. And we don't want them to have to write a lot of code.
You just want to make it easy.
Make it easy. Some configuration, make it happen. But also, and this is critical, and this is the hard part, provide enough extensibility so developers can customize when they need to make it fit their application perfectly.
Yeah. Also, you guys can do customizable columns and selection, and I believe in-place create, read, update, and delete as well. Correct?
Yeah. So a lot of different modes for how you do CRUD on data, and part of it is the features. The other part that's also obviously important is the performance. And we've been doing XAML for a long time, evolving our ways of making that more performant. So what we do with the data grid in particular is spend a lot of energy making sure that UI virtualization is as performant as it can be. So even when you've got thousands or hundreds of thousands of records, I don't know why you present all those to a user, but even if you do have to, it'll remain smooth and performant.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I had something I was going to mention there, and I totally forgot.
Probably not important.
I know. Let's go with most of your controls are data-driven controls, such as the data grid. How do you guys prefer people to bind to them?
Sure. Now, one of the neat things is that UI for UWP conforms to a lot of the same things any .NET developer would expect. So when it comes to data binding, whether you're in ASP.NET or WPF or UWP, the concepts are all very familiar. And we've built our tools to use those familiar concepts and patterns. So binding to things like arrays or observable collections, or using an MVVM pattern to supply that data. All those things developers are already familiar with, work with UI for UWP. The cool thing is we've got a webcast coming up we're doing with Microsoft in a few weeks. And again, if you go to telerik.com/UWP, you can find the details. And we'll be going into a kind of a deep dive of how you use the tools, how you get started doing things like data binding, and all the kind of nitty-gritty. So people can head over there, sign up, and we'll go show code and do all those cool things developers need to find out.
So if their data set does get updated, because you did mention observable collection, they will fire off an event and they can handle stuff in case if something gets created or updated.
The iNotify property change interface right there fires off. You can hook up to it.
So now actually remember what I want to talk about with the data grid is that our docs team did actually update one of their primary samples the enterprise sample to include the Telerik control. That should be live, I believe, right about now. So if someone does want to grab an official Microsoft sample, we did directly integrate. It does use the NuGet package as well. So
very
just
cool.
want to make that crystal clear. I saw the data form. Can you explain a bit more why someone would use this, what it is? It seemed really interesting, but you're the expert, so I'm gonna leave it up to you.
I think data form in many ways kind of captures the essence of what a productivity tool is supposed to do. It's supposed to take a job that would normally be hard to do, take lots of steps, and make it sort of drag and drop easy. And so the data form does this by taking a collection, let's say an object that has different properties, and automatically rendering the correct editors for the data type. So if you have a Boolean, perhaps it's a checkbox. If you have an enumerable, perhaps it's a drop-down list. Normally you do this manually. The data form does it automatically. It provides you all the hooks and things you need for editing that data, or perhaps just making it read-only, presenting. So when I think about over the years of helping developers be productive, this sort of captures that essence. Drag and drop, simplify a bunch of steps, infer a lot of things from the underlying data, and that's what we like to do with the Telerik tools at Progress.
Does the data form or even the data grid have built-in data validation as well?
It does, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, it's one of those steps that would be more work, and we can just automate right out of the box, validate by the different data types.
So another control you guys have is charts. And there's tons of different charts. Do you, off the top of your head, do you remember which ones are built in and what things people have to do?
There are a bunch. We've been evolving our XAML data viz capabilities now for a number of years, and that all has kind of rolled forward as we continue to build new sets of tools, including UWP. So we've got everything from simple bar charts and pie charts to the really complex sort of stock charts, which have high-low bars and zoom and pan interactivity, all that kind of stuff you need, whether it's simple or advanced. It's all in there, and developers today use that already to build complex dashboards or even just simple inline bullet graph kind of visualizations for their users.
So let's switch gears slightly from the controls to think more open source. So you guys are Apache 2.0. Correct me if I'm wrong, you guys now are part of the .NET Foundation as well.
Yeah, we're in that process of
so you're still in the process, but you're moving toward it. What things does an external contributor have to think about to get their source code integrated into the Telerik controls if they find a bug or a performance fix or something along those lines?
I mean, we've been doing open source now for a while in different places, both in .NET and outside of that. We have popular mobile frameworks like NativeScript, which is open source. We built a large community there. So we know what it takes to really build a successful open source project, and the key to that is community. I mean, you can put a license on something, but if you can't build a community, it really doesn't have that true open source support that it needs. And so we're leveraging that experience here. We want to invite the .NET community to come in to join us in the GitHub repo. If they find issues or enhancements, submit those pull requests via the GitHub repo. The CLA for contributions is there that can be signed. The standard kind of workflow if you work on Git and create pull requests. It's all out there. We'll be monitoring the GitHub issues. We'll be working with Microsoft and partners to.
And just for ease of use, really quick, it's telerik.com/UWP. Just for ease of use to get there, and then that will have everything for the NuGet package and the GitHub link.
We'll branch you off to all the right places.
Okay.
There's a lot of URLs.
So sorry for cutting you off there. So will you guys still continue to support professional services with your existing customers or even new customers? Because there are times where much more heavy extensibility has to be done for certain people.
Yeah, and I think this is, as UI tools evolve, this is still where we add value to enterprise customers and those who need that professional support. So while UI for UWP is now free and open source, we will still sell to customers who need it, professional support. If they need access directly to the engineering team and they want guaranteed kind of support tickets for those tools, that's still available on telerik.com, and people can buy that, and we'll keep being there to make their lives easier.
Great. So you guys are, the pros at building out controls. And there are many other companies that are also fantastic at building them. What things do you feel when an end user is building out a control or tweaking a control that they should keep in the back of their head? Like, is extensibility something that is critical? Or I'm sorry, accessibility, I apologize, something that is critical. So for someone that may have low vision, high contrast is a key thing.
Sure,
tab control. Are those things that are in the back of your head, or is there anything else that I forgot?
Oh yeah, I mean, front of the head. I mean, this is stuff that's important for building applications when you have large user bases. If we're talking to developers who are contributing and getting into the controls, then we have to make sure that they are thinking about these things. Controls are like building blocks. They're like Legos. So you've got to make sure that they're ready to go into all those different kinds of apps. Accessibility is certainly important, extensibility. Those are all the things we have to think about.
So let's go pivot off the cards and be a bit more free flow here. So what were some of the big announcements past your guys' the Telerik open source control announcement that you really felt was strong on the keynote here?
And the keynote was pretty exciting. I mean, first of all, anytime you see a stage with that many Surface devices, and especially the big, beautiful Surface devices with the dial and the ink, I mean, that's an amazing setup to start with.
Okay.
Clearly, UWP is making some pretty impressive movements towards not only simplifying that development experience, but when you think about being able to take one code base, build an app that runs on a desktop, on a device, on HoloLens, it's just a great story.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Todd. what's the last closing comments that you'd want to make the community aware of right now about your controls?
I think as long as people remember to go to Telerik.com/UWP, they'll find all the things they need to know there. We'll see them on the webinar with Microsoft here in a few weeks, and we'll have a great time.
Okay, great. Thanks, you.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, welcome back. My name is Andrew Klinick, and I'm here with Doreen and Thomas, and we're going to be talking to you today about how you can engage with more and more of your users. We all know that we want you to be using more of your apps. We love building on technology, but people using your apps is probably the most important thing we can go do. So when we started building for the Creators Update, we really started thinking about 3 themes. It was like, what can we do to really help break down the barriers to make it easier for you to develop your applications so the tech gets out of the way. We also heard your feedback. We want to fix real problems. Obviously, we want to push forward tech and move into new areas, but we also want to fix problems that you actually had today. And finally, we really wanted to focus on enabling you to engage with your users so we can get more done. Now, of course, whilst we're doing that, we spend a lot of time code reviewing, and our friends in marketing, they really felt that, this is how developers code review, on a bench with a yellow bike. Sounds just like what we do at Microsoft. So first of all, breaking down the barriers, really thinking about, Kevin already talked to you about the desktop bridge a little bit. I wanted to get into a little bit more detail. We really want to ensure that you could use your existing code and bring it to Windows 10 and take advantage of all the new Windows 10 features. We want to ensure that your end users really felt it was a smooth transition from your existing applications. There's tons of Windows applications out there. If we're going to move to the desktop bridge, we want to make it easier for you to migrate across to that new version, preserving all the settings, so your users feel like it's a pleasant experience and there's not a jarring experience of updating. But then we also know that people really love to integrate with the shell. The Windows shell is its shining moment in terms of how can your application take advantage of that. Lots of apps take advantage of file explorers, preview, and grouping. We're enabling that in the desktop bridge in the Creators Update, which we didn't enable beforehand. And then finally, really thinking about from a developer delight, introducing the features that you need. Now, some of these might not be actually the sexiest features you can think about. Installing custom fonts, very important for a large percentage of apps out there. Out-of-prop COM objects. There are so many applications that have COM objects. There are so many apps that rely on those applications having COM objects. So if you're going to come to the desktop bridge, we want to make sure those continue to work. And then finally, just, it feels like it should be Thursday for Throwback Thursday or something, MAPI support. It's, everybody needs mapping. It turns out that sending mail is pretty darn important. So we're introducing MAPI support, which really helps bring those applications forward. So thinking about how do you use the desktop bridge, it really is a journey. First off, you convert your application, which gives you the great AppX deployment pipeline, which really makes your installer just flat out better. It means that you can do a clean uninstall. It's almost impossible to do that well today. It makes it really simple for you to do. That's the first step. Now, once you've got your application into the installer, then you can start to enhance your application by calling UWP APIs. Kevin already showed some of the notifications and tile improvements we introduced in the Creators Update. You can start taking advantage of that, but also some of the app model features that we added in terms of application services, so you can expose your application for other apps to run, and using the background tasks that really enable you to run well in the operating system. We provide you a great way of having a battery-efficient background processing. Difficult to do. Clearly, you can do it in Win32, but it takes a lot of work. Background task makes that really simple to do. And then finally, you're going to start wanting to move your UI to UWP as well. And we'll show some demos in a little bit about being able to talk about that and take advantage of XAML from all your applications, not just the newer XAML-based applications, but we have a blog post that's actually showing it on VB6. Today, we're going to be showing it from WinForms. And then finally, once you've started, your final step of the migration is going full UWP, which enables you to run everywhere that UWP is: Xbox, Surface Hub, phone, Windows. as we were building the desktop bridge and talking with our existing customers on that, we really learned some lessons. Many of the applications just converted pretty easily. A lot of them changed without any code at all, which is clearly the goal, but we really want you to take an opportunity to really look at and start enforcing some rules that, frankly, we've all asked you to do for many years, but never really enforced that. And many of these bugs are, frankly, things you should be fixing in your app anyway. And these bugs, you fix them. We're finding already people are fixing bugs to get into Centennial and to the desktop bridge. But those things work just as well on Windows 7 as they do on Windows 10. So this is making your application better. It's making your users' experience better because the applications work better in the operating system. And then really ensuring that we integrate with the development lifecycle. Obviously, that goes from debugging and writing code. But a large part of what people do is really building those setup packages. Now, I don't know about you. Most people don't feel the need. They really want to get up in the morning. First thing they want to do is build a setup package. If you do, then you should probably work on my team. But other than that, most people don't do that. But there are some great third-party tools from InstallShield, from Wix, from Advanced Installer that make it really, really simple for you to create an AppX that works inside of the desktop bridge, as well as an MSI that continues to work on Windows 7. These tools make it super simple. You don't have to convert your app. You just literally press a button, and it creates you an installer that works great on Windows 10. And then finally, once you've got the tech going, making sure that you meet all the store policies if you want to come into the store. But one of the key things we learned is that obviously the store provides a great way to distribute your applications. But if you're distributing inside the enterprise, then maybe that's something you don't necessarily want to do. We have Store for Business, which is great for doing that. But really, when we look at it, every Windows app, the existing Win32 app, should come to Centennial. Your installer will just be so much better. It's almost free. There's no such thing as a free lunch, but it's pretty close. You will get a lot of advantages just by doing that. And you get access to all the UWP APIs that you wouldn't do if you stayed in an existing Win32 app. So I really encourage you, take a look at the desktop bridge. It will make your existing app better. One of the key things the desktop bridge builds on is our deployment pipeline. You may know this as AppX if you see the file format. And this really helps thinking about when you're engaging your users. Your number one thing to do is you want people to install your app. And Kevin talked about this a little earlier. Applications are getting larger and larger. And in some cases, in games, they get up to 100 gigabytes. If you have to wait for your entire app to install before your user can run it, there's a high likelihood the user's not going to install it. So we're introducing Streaming Install, which allows you to start using your application before the entire app is downloaded. So that's a great way to get people into your app as quick as they can. But once they're in your app, you want to keep them there. You want to keep them up to date. You want to provide them new features. You want to provide bug fixes. And one of the kind of least known features of UWP is our ability to do differential updates. So we'll show you this in a demo in a moment. But really, this provides you with a huge saving. Think about your CDN costs. If all you're updating is a 64K DLL and your application is 100 megabytes, why should you have to download the 100 megabytes of app again? AppX and our deployment pipeline will just download the changes. So you can it really helps in terms of getting those updates to your users. So it reduces update times. It reduces your CDN costs. Now, if you come to the store, then your CDN costs are essentially zero because we're doing that for you. So that's another great advantage. But more users stay up to date, and everybody wants their users to stay up to date. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Thomas, and he's going to show us a quick demo of that.
OK, so in the pinnacle of Andrew's developer career around, what was it, 15, 20 years ago?
I'm not sure pinnacle is the word I would use.
Well, around 15 to 20 years ago, Andrew wrote this WinForms app. And it's a really simple app. You can see in the same folder is also this Access database, because why wouldn't it be an Access database 15 years ago? And it's a simple app, like I said, a great UI design, Andrew. And what it does is it goes into that Access database, and it pulls landmarks from all around the world out of that database and shows them. So for example, if I click on Seattle, I get a fairly low resolution picture of the Space Needle. Maybe mapping technology wasn't really up to date back then, but you can tell it's a pretty simple app. So I thought, Well, what should I do to update it for this demo? As Andrew talked about, the desktop bridge is one great way to bring your apps forward, and so that's what I did. The first thing I did is just package it up. So you can see, now I've got this AppX. It's 512 or so megs, so it's a pretty big app, and like Andrew talked about, we've enabled streaming. So this is a big app, but when I go to install it, I can actually take advantage of streaming to start using it right away. And before I install the app, I want to show you what I had to do to enable that. This is a simple XML file. I dropped this into the package. I didn't have to do anything to the app itself. I just literally put it in the package when I was creating it, and the deployment server is going to do the rest for me. It's going to figure out that that big database file is something that can be streamed down instead of having to be required for me to run the app. So I'll double-click to install it. Click Install. Now watch. The Install button changes to Launch very quickly. The app's open. I can use most of it. Some of it's not there yet, but once the app is done installing, now I can get to it. So pretty easy way to bring the app up to the future using streaming. Now, let's take that one step further. Andrew talked a little bit about Delta updates for the app as well. And of course, just bringing his app forward is not really that exciting. Maybe we should do something to make it more like a modern app with the UWP component. So I put a XAML page on this app. But I'm going to take advantage of Delta updates to only bring down the part of the app that I need. As a matter of fact, I can show you exactly the difference between these two packages using this compare tool. This is built into the SDK. I just pointed it at both of those two packages. And you're going to see that really all I need is this 15 meg. That's it. That's the only differential between these two packages. So if I go back and install this, notice it's going to happen a lot quicker than the other app installed. It's done. That's it. I didn't get that whole 512 meg down, just that 15 meg I needed for the updates.
I noticed you put your name on it now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's better. So.
Oh, okay.
So we can launch the app. It looks kind of like the old one, except we can get a little bit higher fidelity map images now. For example, when I go to look at the Space Needle now, it's a little bit higher resolution than what we had 15 years ago. So that's just the XAML Maps control. It's great that I can use that very easily. We can switch around to some other awesome places around the world. We've got the Statue of Liberty as well. And I've got a couple other features you'll see down here. We'll talk about those in just a minute after Andrew talks a little bit more about some of the other engagement features we're bringing to the Creators Update.
Thanks, Thomas.
Yep.
So we go back to the slides. OK. So as Thomas mentioned, we really want to provide ways to help you engage with your users. Now, obviously, the Windows shell is a major part of that. And we've been working closely across the company to ensure that we provide you with a much richer way to do that. First of all, you saw Kevin did this earlier, pinning your application to the Start menu. Now, a few of you on Twitter are already scratching your head saying, well, haven't I been able to do that forever? Well, yeah, you have if you wanted to pin a deep link into your application. So we call that a secondary tile. In this, what you've been asking for a long time, frankly, is the ability to pin the primary tile of your application, just as the user would do from the app list. You can now do that from within your application. Now, we know that tiles help get people into your app, but Action Center is really a great way to get more engagement from your users. It's frankly really the only way you can directly talk to your user, because you can send the notifications direct to them. But we've really been building out our template language to ensure that we can provide you with much richer mechanisms. Kevin showed you the progress bar with the data binding. But we're also providing grouping with collections and headers so that you can start to declutter the Action Center and really provide the information that the user wants that is relevant to them. And then finally, again, trying to fix real problems, create a custom timestamp in TOAST. In the past, we've done the timestamp for you, which is not necessarily what you wanted. It just happened to be when it showed up. We're providing you with the ability to do that and to do accreditation. So that allows you to integrate on the machine itself. But increasingly, we see that people are developing and using with Windows as their desktop, but also with their phones. Obviously, Windows Phone, we like that. But realistically, we also realize that Android and iOS are very important on that. Project Roam provides the ability for your applications to start to provide a connected experience and provide intelligence on that, so that your application can really start to take advantage of all the devices that it takes up a user's life. And the key thing to do this is starting to build in all the devices which we go and discover for you. You don't have to go do that. It's, again, something that's really quite complex to go do, and it really does pay to be in the operating system in terms of us being able to go find devices around, literally proximal to you, but frankly, all the devices you use in the day-to-day life. And we're building that into the Microsoft Graph. Okay, this isn't the Microsoft Graph slide. And when we do that, the Microsoft Graph is great in terms of it enables you to see what devices, but we also realize that there are apps that you want to run on those devices. And it could very well be that those apps are actually running on your desktop. And one of the things that we know is that users share links to your website today. It's something we do all the time. We embed it into our emails. We share them via tweets. We put them on Facebook. We use the browser too. What we really want to do is enable you to take control of that. And if you want people to be using your app rather than your website, then you should have the ability to do that. And apps or websites enable you to do that. And what it enables you to do as a developer, you get to choose which applications can take over your existing web links. So all you have to do that is just drop a JSON file in the root of your website, and then you provide the list of applications that you have approved to do it. So in this case, typically it's just going to be your application. You drop in your package family name there. You can give it specific paths. You might want some paths on your website to actually go to your website, some paths to go to your application. And then in the manifest, you just register for the HTTP and HTTPS links. Those of you out there today, you can actually use, you'll see that Facebook is already doing this on Windows today, and it really drives you into the application more. And then once you have the applications and graphs in the right order, when you think about the Microsoft device graph, every device that we're doing, we're expanding the Microsoft Graph, which currently has all your email, your events, your calendar, but we're adding a devices node into that. So you can now query the Microsoft Graph, and it will return you all the devices that are available to you. And obviously, as we think about this, is that traditionally in the past, we've done it based on your Microsoft account, which is great for consumers. But increasingly, we want to ensure that this works just as well inside of the enterprise, so we're providing AAD support. So all you have to think about is use the Microsoft Graph, and it will provide you the devices. It doesn't matter how your user is logged in, it will provide that information. Now, the Microsoft Graph is great, it has REST APIs, but what if you want to have real, complete control over what's going on and being able to find out what devices are around you? We're providing a client SDK. We're doing it for, we obviously do it for Windows already. Android, iOS, and others are on the plan. And today, we're actually shipping the Android SDK. It's shipping today from this URL. So you'll be able to download this Android SDK, which enables you to do it both from Java, but also from C#, because we're providing you a Xamarin implementation, so you can go do that. So we really recommend you go look at this SDK. But the best way to look at the SDK and see what it can do is a demo. So let's get to Thomas again. Thomas is going to make my app worse again.
OK, so we're back to where we left off, basically. The app is here. It's the updated version that has the XAML page. And I just wanted to show a couple of those things Andrew talked about for engagement. First and foremost, yes, pin to start. This means pinning your applications tile to start, and the user's in control. So whenever they go to pin this, they get a prompt. It shows up here. And just to show that it's real, what it's going to do is it'll launch the WinForms app just like you'd expect. So it's a regular tile. You can do tile notifications and updates to it as well. Also, he talked a little bit about some of the toast notification features. So let me pop a toast to look in the bottom right-hand corner. And I want you to pay attention to the toast itself. I'm going to click some buttons, but don't look at the buttons. Just look at the toast I click. You see it's updating. That's me using data binding to just update the text in that notification very quickly and easily without having to repop the toast. So I'm not having to interrupt the user again. Even if this toast is an action center, it would maintain its place, and I could just update that text very quickly and easily. Let's switch gears real quick, and let's move over to something Andrew talked about with apps for websites. Now, let's pretend like Andrew sent me an email, and it took me to the website, the companion site that he built for this application 15 years ago. Let me just bring that. Let me just bring that site up. It's okay. It's it could use it. It's
the future.
It works. I mean, it does what you'd expect. Yeah.
Hey,
Anyway.
front page. It's a future.
So you can see why maybe you would want to drive people into the app instead of to the website in this case. So we have the ability to do that. If I was on device, like I'd say I'd gotten an email with a link to this site, we're just going to use the run command, but it would be the same in an email. Now it's going to launch the app instead. That's great. That keeps people off that website. But let's do something just a little bit more advanced, okay?
Implicit animations with Marquee, is that what you'll get?
No. I'm gonna use the Roam SDK for Android.
Damn.
So what we've got here, you can see. So this is an Android phone, okay? You can see it up on the screen. I'm just projecting it to the screen. So I'm going to interact with my PC to do the demo because it's, well, here, let's just prove it's real. So this is the one of the sample apps we've written to be able to do cross-device stuff. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to drive from over here now, but I'm actually going to launch that same URI, that website, but it's going to go from my Android phone and invoke that URI on my PC. So let me click the Launch URI button. And what you're going to see happen is the app comes up. That's awesome. That's from my Android phone through the cloud, push notification down, wakes the app up on my PC. Awesome. But just because we want to risk it and we're crazy, let's go a little deeper. What if we wanted to get people directly into that new XAML experience instead of that old WinForms experience? Well, what we can do is I can deep link directly into the app as well. I click Seattle, and what do you know? I'm navigated to the world. I'll click Seattle again. There we go. And we get right to the Space Needle. So deep linking into the app using cross-device notifications. Now, one thing I wanted to show you real quickly, the way that I made it so that I could actually get to the website, Andrew talked about this a little bit in the slides, was I simply, instead of going to the site now to go to the app, I put this JSON file up in the root of the website. And then I changed the Apex manifest just to accept that URI, and that's all it took to get that to work both locally on device as well as what happened for cross-device. So that's it. We can go back to Andrew for some more slides.
Great. Thanks, Thomas. So we just scratched the surface on what we're doing in the Creators Update. And there's a number of blog posts that the teams have been putting out. But these 4 in particular really go into detail on what it takes for apps for websites. Go and get the Roam Android SDK. Desktop Bridge for UWP, if you ever felt the need, how would you get a XAML UI showing from VB6, or if you wanted to do share from a WPF app, there's great examples on that. And then finally, a blog article on the tiles and toast notifications that Thomas showed.
If you want the source for that website that Andrew wrote, or that WinForms app, I'm sure we can make that available.
No, I don't think the world is ready for my source.
Okay.
Right? So, but right now, I'd like to hand over to Doreen. She's going to tell us all about Cortana.
Hello, everybody. Everyone's excited in the room today. My name is Doreen Brown. I'm a program manager for the Cortana Skills Kit. And here I'm going to show you how you can work with Cortana to make your apps and your sites and your skills more engaging on Windows 10 and beyond. It's interesting for a minute to think of Cortana not only as a personal assistant, but part of the overall AI ecosystem at Microsoft. And to do this, we really talk about Cortana as an unbound personal assistant, as Satya has mentioned in several of his demos and keynotes. Cortana is available first and best on Windows 10. She is also available on mobile devices such as Android and iOS, and other devices we've announced, like it back in December during our AI event, things like the Harman Kardon speaker device and also things like the car. You all in the room, in the audience, and also on the internet are experts at the things that you do. So you have really great capability at doing a specific thing, features that your customers use. Maybe Cortana would like to do those things someday, but is not something that she currently has the capability for. The Skills Kit is the developer platform that allows you to expose these capabilities within Cortana's canvas, or the UX in which she appears. Right, this is a set of tooling that allows you to quickly and easily say, this is what my skill is, or my app, or my website, or my bot, or my service is good at. Here's how a user should use it, and here's how you can very easily make it available. In addition to that, we provide a series of contextual knowledge about the end user. Cortana is a personal assistant. She knows a whole lot about her user with their consent. And as the user tells Cortana more about what they're interested in or what he or she likes to do, we can make that available to you in order for you to fully customize your experiences. This Cortana Skills Kit toolkit basically is a very easy way of building this capability. And in order to define a skill, which is the thing that you actually go build, it's 3 easy steps. The first thing you do is you define what we call a skill trigger. and this is how Cortana knows to offer your skill at the right time. For the developer preview, these are related to user speech. So let's pretend for a minute we're a flight tracking app. Basically, when Cortana sees the name of your skill and potentially maybe what we call an utterance or something that a user says, she knows to launch your skill. Next, you provide, if you would like, any additional contextual info about the conversation or the context or kind of whatever Cortana is doing with the user at the time of invocation. So these are things like user profile information, say a cuisine preference or an email address, things like what the user has actually said, right? So what was the actual utterance that was said at runtime, and also any kind of information that is pulled out of the conversation, which is something that you can build in the Cortana portal, and we'll touch on that in just a minute. Next, you define the endpoint that Cortana actually calls to get things done. We showed in the keynote an example of a skill that invoked a Microsoft Bot Framework bot to have a full, rich, multi-turn conversation within the canvas. You can also launch a Windows UWP app if you, say, need much more screen estate or real estate. You can also launch a web service, and we'll touch on that in a demo today. In addition, Android apps and websites are also things that you can utilize. So basically, whatever you've built, you can throw at us, and we'll more or less launch it if we can. This is interesting to talk about. I could go on about theory all day, but it is much more interesting to show you actually how one of these skills is created. What I've got here is the Cortana Developer Center, located at dev.microsoft.com/Cortana. This right now is open to a closed preview, and we've shown a few partners who've built skills already. But here, let's go start something new. I'm going to click on this Create a New Skill button. I'm going to right-click, and then I'm going to left-click like I meant to. And it's basically a simple set of metadata and then conditionals that tells Cortana when to do something. So if a user says something, you should go do the skill or the bot or whatever. In the interest of not digging through all my images to upload an icon, I've already started to fill out this page. So in the keynote, we talked about this company called Northwind Photo. They are able to show different photos based on different contexts. We're going to actually go build that out today, calling a web service endpoint to show you photos at the right time. So you can see I've said my provider name is Northwind Photo. This is how Cortana knows to go launch into your skill. I've provided an icon. And basically, I've registered that if a user says something, we should actually go invoke the skill. Now you notice here I've already plugged in a few values for what this could be. For example, let's show happy pictures, let's show photos with interesting people, all that kind of thing like that. And I've specified this photo emotion entity. Now if you're familiar with Lewis.ai or any of the Microsoft Cognitive Services, this should look familiar to you. The same concept of declaring intents and entities is exactly like it is in Cortana. We actually built this using the same technology. Next, we're going to invoke a target. And like I said, in this case, it is a HTTPS endpoint, so it's a service, and it's actually hooking into an Azure function. This doesn't necessarily need to be an Azure function. It's just convenient to show you how this works back and forth. But as long as you have an endpoint hosted somewhere securely, it's fine. If you have an endpoint under your desk, totally OK. If you're hosting on maybe a Lambda, also totally fine. You have the freedom to choose what is right for you. So we'll jump over to Azure Functions for just a minute. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see the text. All this is really doing is running a very basic, it interprets my request, it prints something out to the console, and then we return a set of JSON. This is a template that we provide to our developer platform as part of the preview. This is just a very simple multi-turn response. So now, if I go to Cortana, ask Northwind Photo to show me a picture. It will actually connect to that Azure function and show this is a card because that is what I asked it to do. And you can see because I actually said don't end the session, it's going to continue listening because it thinks it's a multi-turn conversation. So let's go fix that real quick. I'll say, yep, you should stop listening after a single turn. That's fine. Here is Cortana speaking. It's a little bit stilted, right? It doesn't make a whole ton of sense. So why don't we have her say hello? I'm going to turn my sound up so you can actually hear it. So I'm just going to save this real quick. And if I relaunch Cortana, ask Northwind Photo to show me a picture.
Hello there.
You can see that I'm able to very quickly and easily customize all these experiences very simply through an Azure function. This makes debugging very simple, very straightforward to do. So here's the point where I kind of smile and wave my hands around and take a pre-baked pie out of the oven. And I'm going to jump over to this other Azure function, which I'm just going to kind of copy paste in here because there's a lot of code. Here's where we start taking advantage of the actual natural language capabilities of Cortana and her skills kit. So you'll notice back in the developer portal, we're asking for this photo emotion entity, right? And so that's how we know what kind of photos to show. This is passed through in the JSON object for the request. And so basically all we're doing is we're saying, for this entity, pull it out of the body of the request, and then pivot the response based on what this is. I've put in a few of things here, things like happy, so we can show a happy picture, or if there is no, like if it's a sad picture or something that we just don't know about, we can provide a pretty standard response as well. Right. You'll also notice one other thing, is that we are going to decorate the Cortana canvas with some additional metadata. Cortana can give you all this information, and that's great, but what's even more useful is to be able to act on this data. So what I'm doing is I'm decorating the Cortana canvas with some very basic markdown, where if we have a photo of a happy person, we actually link out to the image for you to download or use or do whatever what you want with it. So now that it's here, I'm just going to save this again. And let's ask Cortana for maybe a picture that Northwind Photo doesn't know about. So, you know, we're a happy app, we're a happy skill. We don't have any sad pictures, so let's actually go try that now. Ask Northwind Photo for a sad picture.
Hello there.
We're going to update what this is. Give me 1 minute. So I'm going to go back here. Save my skill. And then we'll see it work. So basically what happens is every time I sync this down to Cortana, it shows up for the MSA that I'm using to develop. So it's very easy to show this back and forth. Let's try it again. Ask Northwind Photo for a sad picture.
Hello there.
Well, you get what I mean. The idea here, I'll go debug this and then post a real video later. It'll be fine. So yeah, the idea is that Cortana can actually pull these conversational experiences directly out of an intent with the user and show you a fully customized experience at the right time. This is interesting. Right, so let's go back. Actually, let's see if this is actually updated. Well, let's go back to the slide deck. The Cortana Skills Kit preview opens February 27th for services, Windows apps, Android apps, and websites. We showed you an example of this today, just very quickly, building a skill together. I'm going to go check to see why my Azure function didn't work, but we'll post a video and show you all what it's like later on. Now, what does this mean for you? If you're a developer who's built a skill before, it is pretty straightforward to bring your skill to the Microsoft ecosystem. If you look at some of the JSON in the Azure function, it might have looked a little bit familiar. If you are interested in building speech and natural languages experiences, I would recommend reading up on Lewis.ai, as it is the technology that powers Cortana. If you are ready to launch an app, make sure your app is deep link enabled, and so you can actually launch your app from Cortana in the same context. We'll have more news on February 27th, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you soon. Thank you very much.